Hello and welcome to my channel where it's Halloween all year long. My name is Lauren. In this vlog, I'll be reading Christmas and winter horror books.
The blood of a virgin. No, that's so wrong.
What an awesome weekend. I had such a fantastic time doing all the winter horror things. I was on my first live stream, which was just the coolest thing. Things got so out of hand so quickly in all the best ways. So that was a fantastic way for me to transition into the holiday season. It is Monday, December 19th. It is the first day of my winter break. So this past weekend was a fantastic way to kind of like move out of work mode and into my break, which is about 2 weeks. And then I start back up teaching in my high school classroom once again after the new year. Until then, I'm gonna be reading a lot of Christmas and winter horror books that are on my Christmas Evil Readathon TBR. The one I'm in right now is Santa Steps Out by Robert Devereaux. I'm halfway through this book and it is a lot. Like as I said, I'm halfway through this book. I love my Nightworms bookmark. I'm halfway through, but I feel like it's all just like Santa getting down with a lot of different people and Miss Claus just trying to like figure out her marriage. And I guess like that makes it a little bit boring because I feel like it's a lot of like setup that has to do with a lot of smutty situations that are enjoyable, but I just feel like there's not a lot of plot because there's a lot of characters that need to be set up, and I think it's leading to something very interesting. Like I do like the origin story of Santa that's been given to us in like little snippets from a variety of different characters. I think it's really cool how the author is including like pagan mythology, I think maybe even some like Greek or Roman folklore and mythology too. I think that's like really coming up and it's been like alluded to us, referenced, and there's also some interesting foreshadowing as well about the storylines of different characters that I found to be really interesting. So you see a Santa Claus origin story where the characters in this book, from the elves to the Tooth Fairy to the Easter Bunny, make an appearance, and they're all trying to figure out, okay, what was like the life I had before and how did I get here? So it's really interesting to see how they all are interacting together. So I'm enjoying it for the most part, but yeah, like halfway through and I just feel like it's slow moving, and I guess I just want a little more plot, but like I don't think that's really a core part of this book. I want to do some cooking today. I'm going to do some gift shopping, some wrapping of gifts, and lots of reading. So I'll see you all in my next update. I have finally finished Santa Steps Out. I don't think this book is bad. I just feel like I did not get a lot out of the storyline because the story was basically Santa and like everybody else getting it on with other people, which is not bad necessarily. I think I've just discovered as like I expose myself to new books through this channel, which is the whole point, I'm discovering that when it comes to smutty books, I do like a book that has a stronger plot. So I feel like it was really light on plot, and for a book that was like 350 pages almost, I don't think a lot happened, so I think it could have been a little bit more succinct. But I do think it is cool how the Tooth Fairy, she's the most interesting part of this entire book. Like Miss Claus's storyline, boring, but I think that the Tooth Fairy made it really interesting, and I liked at the end that she was able to showcase power over the situation that she was being thrusted and forced into in that like universe of fairy tales. There's like some really disgusting stuff that happens in this book. So although I won't read it again, I think if you like trashy books that are smutty and ridiculous, then this might be right up your alley. I also finally finished The Hunger by Alma Katsu. I found it really enjoyable. I feel like the reviews I've read have largely been like meh, like people really feel like there should have been a lot more paranormal aspects to the book, and I totally agree with that point, but I don't think I feel it in the same way as other people do. I do really feel like representation of Indigenous people within that story was not really well done, in my opinion. I feel like because I know the history, there was a larger role that Indigenous people played in the Donner Party. Although I feel like Indigenous people were represented in a historically accurate way and very respectfully in parts of the book, I think I didn't care for how marginalized their role in the larger story was in this like reimagining of the Donner Party history. However, when it comes to Alma Katsu, I like her stuff. I'm more likely to pick up her works now that I know that she is a writer that I feel like I really care for her writing style. I liked how you had the character development unfolded to you through little threads that are interwoven throughout the story. Wow, I read so much today. I also finished Lucky Girl by M. Rickert. How I Became a Horror Writer, a Krampus Story. This book was only 100 pages. It spans multiple decades. You really see it through one specific character, and that is Ro, which is short for Roanoke, which I think is the coolest name ever. The most strangest, like, setup for a book I've read in a really long time. Like, tell me if you have a stranger setup than this. We have randos, total strangers, celebrating Christmas with each other, and they do like a gift exchange. They share, you know, Christmas ghost stories, and then the next year they come back, and then they all just kind of like disappear from each other's lives. And then once one of the people in the group passes away, then you see them come together again for another Christmas. And then that's really where you see like the major plot unfold, and like halfway through, literally like on page 50, you get a really interesting reveal about the backstory of Ro. It's told in first person, so you're really only getting this story through their eyes. And I think that's really interesting because you don't really know if you want to trust Ro or not, like where she fits on the scale of like morality. Like this idea of like, what is a monster? Like, is the monster in this book really Krampus? Like, I think that's really interesting. I really like this book, and I don't feel like there's a lot of people talking about it. I really recommend this book. I've only heard, I think, negative reviews of this book, if at all anything. Up next for me is Hark, The Herald Angels Scream. This is edited by Christopher Golden. It is a short story anthology. I started, but I didn't finish, the short story by Josh Mallerman. This short story anthology is like really well reviewed. People have spoken really highly about it, so I don't think there's going to be a big issue for me when it comes to this book. So I'm kind of debating if I want to read all of these short stories or just kind of dip in and out between now and Christmas. I have about 2 other books I wanted to get to before December ends, so I'll kind of play it by ear. My boyfriend, he's leaving town to celebrate Christmas with his relatives in Southern California. We live near San Francisco. I'm going to have a lot of free time between now and then when I go see my family for Christmas, so I might be able to get a lot of reading done, but I do also want to get in some Christmas horror movies too. But before all that, I'm so stoked. Every year I really love going to a holiday pop-up bar. And there's a really awesome bar that we really love. It's like arcadey. You've probably seen it in my Halloween vlog. They always do like their seasonal overlays, and they have like a Christmas one. So we're gonna go head on out to enjoy some Christmas cheer and some drinks. I've just been living my best Christmas life. Like last night I watched 8-Legged Freaks, I watched Jack Frost, the slasher, not the heartwarming family movie. So I have been making some progress in Hark, The Herald Angels Scream. I started with the one I thought was going to be the most interesting, which was the story by Josh Mallerman. I don't know why I thought that one was going to be really interesting. I've never read anything he's written, and I just went straight to that one, which wasn't one of the first stories. It was more like towards the middle, and I was very underwhelmed by it. But the other stories I've gotten to, I've liked far more. There's one story in this where you have a couple that just had a child, and they're on their way to Barcelona because their kind of tradition in the relationship they've had is that every Christmas they'll travel somewhere outside of the United States. And then when they do, something wild happens that I just like didn't see it coming at all, and I thought it was like obviously sad, but entertaining. And then there's another one, the very, very first one, I believe, Absinthe and Angels, where I felt like that story was more of like a haunting, slashery kind of vibe. And I feel like that one would be a marvelous full-length novel. I've just been like so Christmassy, like it's just over the top. I'm also listening to an audiobook as well, The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. I am about 32% of the way through. I have been enjoying it for the most part, like I'm not disinterested, but there are like 3 different storylines with different perspectives of people, of characters in this book, and some of them are in different timelines. So it's getting a little confusing because I'm listening to it on audio, and I think that makes different timelines and different perspectives just a little bit more challenging. Like my interest is getting piqued, but I don't know if I'm like really invested and really as into it as I was like my previous audiobook, The Hunger by Alma. That's the reading I've been getting to. I have been just like cleaning and relaxing and reading and doing the Christmas Evil watch parties. We watched Hey Arnold, which is like the best. Like they have to have like won awards for that amazing Christmas episode. It gets me every time. I have been loving Not Your Average Babe Co., which is a small business that just offers a lot of things. They offer amazing products that have to do with any kind of like spooky Halloweenish fandom. And I did their mystery stocking this year, and I have that here. This stocking is so cute. So let's see what we got in here. It is Christmas Eve, and it's time to wrap up this vlog. I'm heading on over to my mom's place tonight to celebrate Christmas there. My boyfriend is in Southern California visiting his family for Christmas, so I wanted to wrap things up, pun intended, and let you know my final thoughts on the books I've read for this vlog. I just finished my audiobook of The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. I feel like I was very underwhelmed by this story, and I thought it was just a little bit too predictable. Like, I feel like the intrigue and mystery was there in the beginning of the book, but I think it trailed on too long, and for me as a reader, I can get impatient when I feel like there are questions unanswered and just kind of dangling more unanswered questions in front of us. I did like, however, the reveals at the end, but I wish there was less predictability and more red herrings. So I think I would probably feel comfortable giving this book a 2.5 star rating. I also decided that I did not want to rush reading Hark, the Herald Angels Scream, which is that short story anthology, because I found the stories to be really great. Even though that first story I read, which was by Josh Malerman, was very underwhelming, I felt like the rest of them were really kooky and weird, and they gave you a lot of various different horror elements throughout all of them. So I thought it'd be a really great idea, instead of rushing through it because Christmas is here just in a few days, that I'd either pick up the second half to finish again, either during Christmas Evil's July readathon or during next Christmas. Like, what's the rush? I'm totally gonna give that one a 4.5 at this point. Thinking back to the books I've already chatted with you about that I read for this winter Christmas horror vlog, I feel like the more I sit with The Lucky Girl and talk about it a little bit more with people, the more I feel like I really like it. I thought it was just really cool. I loved the premise. I thought it was very original, and I thought it left you with this unexpected twist at the end that was very R.L. Stine. I feel like I'd give it a 4.5, maybe even a 5-star rating. The more I sit with The Hunger, the more I feel like that one is a nice, sturdy 4-star read for me. I already mentioned how I thought the portrayal of Indigenous people was a bit problematic, or like a total missed opportunity to include them in a more meaningful way within the narrative, beyond just like that one character and just kind of coming in here and there as like background characters. But the story itself, I really liked the history paranormal blend. What else did I read for this vlog? Oh, I can't forget about Santa Steps Out. The more I sit with that book, the more I feel like it's so hard to rate because it was my first experience with any kind of smutty book. So that one definitely, I think if I'm rating it in terms of like my enjoyment and the ways I responded to the plot and the characters, I feel like it's gonna be a 2-star for me. I don't regret reading it. I thought it was very unique in its approach to these characters that you know and love so much, in kind of twisting and making it this really cool fairy tale universe. Those are all the Christmas and winter horror books I read in the week prior to Christmas 2022. I've had such a fantastic time this month, this half a year I've started this YouTube channel. I'm so thankful for you. Every person who views my videos, they're like viewing like really personal parts of me, and so I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your life to hop into mine for a little bit. I'm wishing you, your family, great health this holiday season and an awesome New Year's. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!